How you doing there? Welcome back to Babble on Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samach Gimel, Daf 63 of Masechta Zevachim. Friends, Daf Samach Gimel is a very sweet daf. It's actually very nice that it feels like it's not going to be like a long, intense, heavy daf, which is really nice. That it feels like the last few days we finally had that after about 2 months of just intense, just more and more intensity and diagrams and figuring things out and so many different types of korbanos. And it feels like today, I don't know how long it's going to be yet. I'm only starting now. You know how long it's going to be. I don't, but it just feels like it's manageable. Like I have like an hour and 15 minutes till Shabbos, and it just feels like, okay, it should be plenty of time to record this stuff. For the last 2 months, it's been like, okay, an hour 15, no, you need 2 hours to record a daf. It just feels like manageable, which is, I'll tell you, it's such a machaya. It's so nice to just like have a daf that's like, oh, this is like manageable. Nice, sweet daf. So, Chaver, we're going to learn 2 mishnayos on today's daf. I mean, it's still Zevachim. I mean, we're going to be talking about korbanos and Chatas, Ha-Oaf and Malika and which part of the Mizbeach, Chuta Sikra, like Zevachim, but like it feels like it's going to move, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, so the first section of today's daf is where to perform kemitzah on a korban mincha. Where in the azara or elsewhere is kemitzah performed? That's, of course, the fistful of flour. The kohen takes a fistful of flour and burns that on the mizbeach. Where is the fistful taken? The next section, the bird chatas corner. Well, okay, first of all, we get to a new mishnah, okay, which we'll be talking about the southwestern corner of the mizbeach. And we'll particularly be focusing on the Chatas Ha-Oaf, the bird Chatas. And the Gemara will discuss how do we know that the bird Chatas is malikad and handled at the southwestern corner. And finally, bird Chatas possibilities. It was a little bit difficult to label this, but essentially which things need to be done a certain way and which things have certain flexibility when it comes to Chatas Ha-Oaf. So we will get to that as well. So Chaver, join me. Let's jump in and learn Daf Samach Gimel of Masechta Zevachim. Friends, we will begin on Daf Samach Gimel Amud Aleph, 4 lines into the Daf at the Mishnah. Min menachis hayu nikmatzis b'chol makom ba'azar. So, korban minchas, of course, minchas that a kometz is taken from, not all minchas are kometzt. For example, a minchas koin, for example, would not be kometzt, or minchas nesachim, I believe, is not kometzt. But if a person says, I'm going to bring a korban mincha, for example, so without going into the details, basically, at a certain point, the kohen takes a fistful of flour and oil, although maybe it's not necessarily, if there's oil. Anyways, the kohen takes a fistful of the flour and burns it on the mizbeach. So that taking of the fistful, the kemitzah, the taking of the fistful, that is done b'chol makom ba'azar. Right? That fistful can be taken anywhere in the azare. V'necholis lifnim min akloim, and they are eaten like kodshim in the azara l'zichrei kuna, to the male priests. B'chol maichol, cook it however you like. Liyom v'layla, for one day and the following night, ad chatzos, until midnight. Says the Gemara, Amar Belazar, says Belazar, mincha shenikmitzah b'heichol kshera. Okay, so we had said in the Mishnah that a mincha is, the kometz is kometz in the azar, anywhere in the azar. What about in the heichol? So says Rabbi Lazar, no problem. Mincha shenikmitzah b'heichol kshera, a mincha that was kometz in the heichol, it's fine, it's ksher. Shekein matziru b'siluk bazichin, because after all, there's the siluk bazichin in the heichel. Who wants to explain to us? Who wants to be mizaka the rabbim and explain to everybody at Babble on Talmud what the bazichin have to do with anything? What are the bazichin? So the lechem aponim, the showbreads on the shulchan in the heichel. So there will be the 12 showbreads, and I think we learned about this recently, right? and every Shabbos, so at the top of on top of the table there were two receptacles, bazichin, like ladles of sorts, with frankincense in them. There were two of these ladles, and every Shabbos before the showbreads were eaten, these two ladles were taken out to the Mizbeach Achitzon and burned there on that secondary pyre that we had talked about. Now, so the taking of the bazichin from the showbreads and taking them out to the Mizbeach Achitzon to be burned is like the kemitzah of a mincha. You have all the flour of the korban mincha. Now you take a fistful. Also, you have all the showbreads, and then you take the bazichin to be burned on the mizbeach. So the taking of the bazichin from the showbreads is like the taking of the fistful from the rest of the flour, and therefore, just like the taking of the bazichin happens in, right, the separating of the bazichin from the showbreads happens in the heichel. So also, if a kohen takes the kemitzah from, right, it takes a kometz from the mincha in the heichel, it is also kosher. Master Rabbi Yirmiyah asked an interesting question. Who's ready for an interesting question? V'komatz misham mimakom sheragle azar omdis. That the pasuk says by a korban mincha. Let's read the pasuk. Va'avia el bnei aharon akayanim v'komatz misham, etc. That the pasuk says if one were to bring a korban mincha, mazel tov, so you would take the korban mincha and you would take it to the priest, and the priest would then take the kometz from it. Right? V'komatz misham. So basically, if I'm a Yisrael, right? God willing, I'll be bringing a korban mincha. It's right now Friday. God willing, Be'ezus Hashem, on Sunday, I'll be bringing a korban mincha, and so I will bring it to the kohen, and the kohen will take the fistful from the mincha. So it sounds like, says Reb Yirmiyah, I'm just a Yisrael. I'm not allowed into the Azara. I'm not allowed into, I'm allowed into the Ezras Yisrael. I'm allowed into the first 11 Amis of the Azara. That's it. I can't go further than that. Certainly can't go into the Heichel. And it sounds like I'm taking my mincha into the Azar, where I can go in the Azar, and the priest will meet me there and take the kemitzah from where I am, not in the Heichel, but rather it sounds like the kemitzah happens in a place where even Yisraelim can be. Not in the Heichel. What was that sound? 1 second. What is that sound? Whoa. Thunder. Oh, gewaldig. Oh, wait. I'm going out for dinner, though. But it's good. Rain's always good in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, I generally, even if I get stuck in the rain, it's super annoying. Getting stuck in the rain is super annoying, even in Eretz Yisrael. But yeah, I generally don't say, I wish it wasn't raining. Because in Eretz Yisrael, it's good to rain. It's just, it literally rained last night. I can't remember. It probably hasn't rained since I don't know, maybe March or April or something like that. It's been a really long time. So rain in Eretz Yisrael is good. Also, it keeps the people out of the park. It's quieter in the park. It's quieter in the park when it's raining. Yeah, I made a song. I made a song based on the song that they sing in America. It goes, "Rain, rain, come again. Go away another day. Little Sruli wants to learn. Rain, rain, come again." I made that up last night. Well, only a little bit of it I made up. Okay. All right. Now, where were we? So what were we talking about? Anyways, so that the kometz is being taken from a place where even Yisraels can go. Now, so the pasuk seems to be saying that the kometz is taken from a place where zars are, not from the heichel. So Ben Beseira says Ben Beseira, continues, says Ben Beseira. Right, so this is a brisa, right? So the brisa is saying that, right, that the kometz is taken from a place where zars can stand. Ben Beseira says Ben Beseira, minayim kometz b'smol shachmir sheyachzir v'yikmos biyom. And how do I know that if the kometz was taken was kometzed with the priest's left hand, which shouldn't be done, it should be using the right hand. So no big deal. Just put it back into the vessel where it came from and do over with your right hand. Misham mimakum shekometz kvar. So from there, from the place that was already kometzed. So no problem. You can just do a redo. No, so how do we answer the question? So the question is, how could it be that you can take the kometz in the heichel if it sounds like the kometz is dafka in a place where Yisraels can be? So you could to those who say, who most of them to those who say that Rabbi Yirmiyah answered his own question. You could to those who say, Amalei, so it says Rabbi Kiva, but there's a different gears that says Rabbi Yaakov. I think it makes more sense just because I don't think Rabbi Akiva would make sense. So we'll go with Rabbi Yaakov. Amalei Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Tachlifa. Azbra lach. I will explain it to you. Lo nitzrucha ela lahachshir kol azara kula. No, it's not saying that the kemitzah has to be in a place, must be in a place where even a Yisrael could be. It's saying that the kemitzah can be even in a place where Yisrael can be. I may have thought, look, a korban ola after all is kadshe kachim, umincha kadshe kachim, and a korban mincha is also kadshe kachim. Ola tuna tzafin, af mincha tuna tzafin. I may have thought that just like a korban ola needs to be slaughtered in the north of the Azar, so maybe a korban mincha needs to be kemitzah in the north, right? Just like an korban ola is slaughtered in the north, so maybe the kemitzah needs to be in the north and not just anywhere in the Azar. So to which the Gemara says, wait a second, why would we think to compare ola and menachos? Malaola shekin kolil. A korban ola is entirely burnt on the mizbeach. A mincha, only the kometz, only a fistful of it is burnt on the mizbeach. Michatas, okay, fine. So it's enough from chatas, which is also kadshe kachim and needs to be in the north. But malachatas shekin michaperes al chayve kreisos. Yeah, but chatas is unique, and chatas is stringent and shouldn't be compared to mincha, because chatas is mechaper and chayve kreisos. Okay, me'ashim, so son from ashim, that ashim needs to be in the north. So I'd say so does the mincha. But mala ashim shekain minidomim. Well, ashim has a requirement that its blood is thrown on the mizbech. Mikulu ma lechulu shekain minidom, and also just you can't say, well, okay, fine. So if we can't learn out individually from chatos or ola or ashim, let's learn it out collectively that they all need to be in the north. Yeah, but all of them have a blood aspect to it, and a korban mincha doesn't have any blood aspect to it. So ella, it's nu. So what are we saying? Meaning, no, where are we, friends? Where are we? We are that the Mishnah had said that the kometz can be taken anywhere in the Azar. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks a question that hey, we see in a brisa that the kemitzah is in a place where Yisrael could be. Oh wait, let's say we said the kometz could be anywhere in the Azar, and then the Gemara had said that Rabbi Lazar had said it could even be in the heichel. To which Rabbi Yirmiyah says, how could it be in the heichel? It needs to be in a place where a person can, where even a Yisrael can be. Certainly not in the heichel. To which we say, no. It means even in a place where Yisrael could be in the, it could be in the heichel, it could be in the Azar, and even in a place where Azar is allowed to stand. Because I may have had a minute to say that the kometz cannot be in just a place where a Yisrael can stand, because I may have thought to compare it to Ola, Asham, Chatas, and those dafka need to be in the north of the Azar. Let's say Al Yeracham Mizbeach Tzafonim. So we say, yeah, but those are different. Don't compare them to Mincha. But still, even though they're different from Mincha, still, I needed to teach that I wouldn't have assumed that Korban Mincha, the kometz could be taken where a place where Azar can stand. Nonetheless, it's durch Sagadate Chamina. I may have thought, Gisha el Hamizbeach ve'er mimenu bekumtso. Since the pasuk says that the Korban Mincha will be taken to the Mizbeach, and then the Kohen takes the kometz, ma'agosha b'kerem maravis dromas, av kemitzah b'kerem maravis dromas. So I may have thought that just like when the mincha is taken to the mizbech, it's taken to the southwestern corner of the mizbech. So maybe the kemitzah, the kometz must be kometzed at the southwestern corner of the mizbech. Kamash malan, it can even be kometzed in a place where azar can stand. Reb Yechanan says, Reb Yechanan, Shlom sheshchatan beheichel ksherim. If a korban shlomim was slaughtered in the heichel, normally, right, the halacha by korban shlomim is b'chol makom ba'azar, anywhere in the azar. But if the shlomim was slaughtered not just in the azar but in the heichel, says Reb Yochanan, it's kosher. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, ushchato pesach oil moed, that the korban shlomim is slaughtered at the entrance to the oil moed, which is interesting. That by making the place where the shlomim is slaughtered in the azar relative to the oil moed, relative to the heichel, it's setting up a hierarchy of what's important, right? By defining the place where the shlomim is slaughtered, not by slaughter in the azara, no, slaughter it Pesach oil moed, it kind of sets up a hierarchy that the heichel is the important one, and the azara is relative to the heichel. And therefore, so v'lo yehei tafel chomer mina ikr. That therefore, if the heichel is what we would consider to be the ikr, and the azara is the tafel, well then certainly if you can slaughter a korban shlomim in the azara, you can definitely would be allowed to do that in the heichel as well, right? It's not like there would be something they'd be allowed to do in the that the azara would be able to handle, and that the heichel can't handle it. No, if you could slaughter shlom in the azara, you can definitely, right, in the tafel, you could definitely slaughter the shlom in the ikr in the heichel. Meisvei, however, we have a question. Reb Yidol ben Beseira, Omer says, Reb Yidol ben Beseira, minayin she'im ekifa of the chom es kol azar. How do I know if, God forbid, Rachmana litzlan, of the kechavim were surrounding the azara, and the Kohanim had kachim to eat? Shakarim nichlasin l'sham va'ochlin sham kachim. How do we know that the Kohanim can go into the heichel and eat kachim in the heichel? Because we have a special pasuk to allow that. That you can eat. This is by a mincha, which is kachim. You can eat it in the heichel. But why do I need a special pasuk to tell me that kachim could be in the heichel? After all, we have a pasuk that says, we already have a pasuk saying, that you will eat it in the chatzar oil moed. 1 second. Okay. Right, that you will eat it in the chatzar oil moed. And based on the logic that we had, chatzar oil moed, setting the sort of hierarchy that the heichel is the more important one, and if you can eat it, if you can eat kachim in the azar, certainly then you can eat it in the heichel. How could it be that there's something that you can do in the azara that you'll be unable to do, right? That like the heichel won't be up for the task. No way. So based on that logic, we shouldn't need a special pasuk to say that kachim can be eaten in the heichel. I already know it based on the fact that it says b'chatzar oil moed yochlu. That's defining the place where it's eat kachim in the azar relative to the heichel. So no, but they're different. Eating in the heichel is different than slaughtering a korban in the heichel. Slaughtering a korban in the heichel is doing this, is working, is doing the avoda. It's getting to work. Eating is kind of a different story. Look, when it comes to avoda, doing the avoda, slaughtering a korban, the adam ovid b'makom rabo, a person works in front of his master. A person gets to work and he works in front of his master, and therefore, if a person can work in the azar, he could work in the heichel. But eating is a little bit of a different thing. A person doesn't eat in front of his master. Eating, it's interesting. Eating is like a sensitive thing. 1 second. We won't necessarily say that, well, if you can eat in the azar, then sure, make yourself comfortable and eat in the heichel. No, we're not necessarily going to say that. It's interesting. It says, Ein adam ochel b'fnei rabo. And Rashi says, right, the zilusa the rabbi ulasus tzorkei evid lefanav. Interesting. To do the needs of an Eved in front of him. Yeah, eating's like an interesting thing. There's like different layers of eating, right? You can go to like a brilliant restaurant and mamish fanik yourself and have eating could be a big tainug in that sense. And in that case, it's very mechubad. But at the end of the day, also people just need to eat, right? Could also just be a very basic human need to eat, right? And therefore, so we're saying a person's not going to take care of his like sort of basic human needs, like having to feed yourself in front of your Rebbe. So therefore, we don't necessarily assume that you would be able to eat kodshe kodshim in the heichal just because you could do it in the azar. So therefore, we need, when it comes to eating kodshe kodshim, a special pasuk to say that kodshe kodshim can, in fact, be eaten in the heichal. All right, friends, and now we get up to the next Mishnah, Chatas Ha-Oaf, a bird Chatas offering. Isis al Karen Dromis, my Ravis would be malikud, right? Executed and processed and Mizrika Saddam and all that stuff by the southwestern corner of the Mizbech. And in any place it is kshera. The Gemara we're gonna get to the Gemara. This is gonna be the final section of today's Gemara. What exactly this means, that it could be anywhere. But this was its place. Now, the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach, so of course there's the Chut HaSikra, the 50% mark, right, the halfway mark of the Mizbeach. So there were three things that were done above the Chut HaSikra on the top half of the Mizbeach on the southwestern corner, and there were three things that were done below the Chut HaSikra at the southwestern corner. Again, so there were three things that would be done at the southwestern corner below the Chut HaSikra, and three things that would be done above the Chut HaSikra at the southwestern corner. Now, when it comes to below the Chut HaSikra, Chatas Ha-Oaf. For example, Chatas Ha-Oaf was at the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach, below the Chut HaSikra. Right, of course, a regular Chatas, the Chatas Behema, the Matan Damim, is above the Chut HaSikra on the Karnos HaMizbeach, but Chatas Ha-Oaf is below the Chut HaSikra. The Agashos, also a Korban Mincha that is brought to the Mizbeach, is brought to the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach. V'Shiyare Adam, also when you have a Korban Chatas, for example, and there's leftover blood after blood has been applied to the four horns, the Karnos Mizbech, you then take the Shiyari Adem, right? Shiyari Adem Ayashofich Aisod Dromi, right? So Dromi is essentially the southwestern corner, and it would be poured out over there. Umilamailon, and the things that would be above the Chut HaSikra at the southwestern corner, Nisu Chayayin V'Amayim. At the top of the Mizbeach, there would be receptacles for wine libations and water libations, that the wine and water respectively would be poured into these receptacles. So those are two things that would be above the Chut HaSikra on the southwestern corner. The Olas Ha-Oaf, as well as a bird Ola offering, Shi Rabba B'Mizrach. Really, the Olas Ha-Oaf is meant to be at the southeastern corner of the Mizbeach, above the Chut HaSikra. But if there's a lot of Olas Ha-Oafs happening, so then instead of doing it at the southeastern corner of the Mizbeach, you can do it at the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach. Kol ha'odin the Mizbeach. Now, whenever one goes up to the Mizbeach, Olin Derech Yomin, you go up on the right side, right? The ramp going up to the Mizbeach was 16 amis wide. And so people going up, it was like a two-lane road. People going up the ramp would go up on the right, and people going down the ramp would be going on their right, which is basically on the left if you're going up the ramp. I imagine that this is probably where the places like Eretz Yisrael and the United States of America, you drive on the right side of the road, just like they would do in the Beis Hamikdash on the Kevesh. Umakifin v'yordin derech small, and then they would go. So you would go up the ramp on the right side, and you would turn to the right and go around the Mizbeach that way, and then make your way down, which from the perspective of somebody looking at the Mizbeach, you would be coming down on the left side of the Kevesh. Chutz min ha'ola legimel elu, the three exceptions are that one who's going up to the top of the Mizbeach to do Nisuch HaYayin or Nisuch HaMayim or Chatas Ha-Oaf, Ayu Olin v'Yordan ala Ekev, they would simply go up to the top of the Mizbeach instead of going all the way around to the Mizbeach to get to the southwestern corner. They would go to the top of the Mizbeach and then just go straight to the southwestern corner to do what they need to do, and then they would just turn around and walk back down the ramp. Now we get up to the section of the daf, the bird Chatas corner. Essentially, how do we know that by a Chatas Ha-Oaf, the southwestern corner is its place? We can say Machlokes Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Eliezer. Not immediately, how do we know some? Rabbi Yoshua says, Rabbi Yoshua Amar, the pasuk says, Lo Yosim Oleh Hashem v'lo yitin Oleh Levona ki Chatas he. That the pasuk says by a minchas chote. What's a minchas chote? So we learned Masechta Shavuos, a korban Oleh v'yored. If somebody accidentally, or Tumas Mikdash v'Kadosh, if somebody is Tamei and accidentally goes into Beis HaMikdash, so then they bring a korban based on what they can afford. If they can't afford the sheep or the kispa v'seira, so then they can do the Chatas Ha-Oaf. They can do a Chatas Ha-Oaf, and if they can't afford that, so then they could do a minchas chote. They could bring a sinner's mincha offering, and that is what we are talking about. It says by the minchas chote, lo yosim aleh shemen, you don't put any oil on it. Lo yitin aleh levona, no frankincense either. Ki chatas, because it's a chatas. So we call this korban mincha a chatas, and the Gemara wants to say that just like the mincha is right, it works both ways. Yes, we're calling the mincha a chatas, but it also means that a chatas, right, is right. It's like ki'ilu, we're taking this korban chatas and morphing it into a mincha. So we're kind of saying that the mincha is a chatas and the chatas is a mincha. So chatas kruya mincha, mincha kruya chatas, machatas. So this is weird. Machatas tone tzafin, tuna tzafin, av mincha, tuna tzafin. Rashi says this doesn't make any sense. Yes, chatas needs to be in the north, but mincha does not need to be in the north of the Azara. Rashi says it maybe means that just like a chatas is shalol lishma is psula, so also a minchas chote shalol lishma is psula. But anyways, uma mincha b'keren ma'ravas dromis, just like a korban mincha needs to be brought to the southwestern corner of the mizbeach. Av chatas b'keren ma'ravas dromis, also the korban chatas, the chatas ha'of, is going to be processed at the southwestern corner of the mizbeach. Umincha gufa minolan. Right, so going back to the chatas being in the north, right, a chatas behema is in the north, but a chatas ha'of is not in the north. So that whole thing about the north was kind of weird, because chatas ha'of is not doesn't need to be malikad in the north, and neither is the kemitzah of a mincha. So yeah, that was talking about have the need for lishma according to Rashi. Anyways, so we said that just like the mincha is brought to the southwestern corner of the mizbeach, so chatas ha'of is handled there as well. Mincha gufa midalin. How do we know that a korban mincha is brought to the southwestern corner of the mizbeach? The Tana that we learned in the Brisa, lifnei Hashem. It says, right, zos toras ha-mincha hakriv also b'nei Aaron lifnei Hashem al pnei ha-mizbeach. So it says lifnei Hashem. So what Lifnei Hashem is before God. So you have the Mizbeach is right next to the Heichel, which would be where Hashem is, and Lifnei Hashem is the part of the Mizbeach that's directly in front of the Heichel, i.e., the western side. So Yochel b'Ma'ariv. So should the Hagasha of a mincha be on the western side of the Mizbeach? Tam lo el pnei ha-Mizbeach. It says to the face of the Mizbeach. The face of the Mizbeach is where you go up to the Mizbeach, at the ramp on the southern side. Al pnei ha-Mizbeach yachol b'darim. So it should be the south side. So on the one hand we're saying was tamalam lifnei Hashem, but it says it should be before Hashem. So on the one hand it's saying it should be the western side, and the other hand it's saying it should be the southern side. Okay, it said magisha b'keren ma'ravis dromis keneged chuda shel keren v'dayu. What you do is you bring the korban mincha to the southwestern corner, right where the western and southern sides meet. Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, Yachol Yagishena li Mayrava shel Karen Ola Droma shel Karen. Is it possible you could bring the korban mincha to the western side of that corner or the southern side of the corner, or does it literally need to be the point? So Omad kol makom shata mose shnei mikros echad mikayim atzmo u'mikayim chaveru ve'echad mikayim atzmo u'mevatel chaveru. That whenever you have two verses, one talks about itself, but it doesn't exclude the something else, right? Meaning over here we have south and west, right? So if let's say south is talking about the south, but it can include the west, right? Versus only the south and excluding the west, for example, right? So if we have one pasuk that can obviously include itself, but also include its contemporary, and another pasuk that includes itself but excludes its contemporary, we'll go with the verse that is more inclusive. Let's see what this means. So manichin zeh shemekayim atzmo, we will leave aside the one that is mekayim atzmo umevatel chaveru and excludes its contemporary. V'tov zenes shemekayim atzmo umekayim chaveru, and we will accept the one that is mekayim both. What does that mean? Well, kishat omer el pnei Hashem b'mayriv, when it says el pnei Hashem, the face of God, that's the western side of the mizbech. Heichen kemis, where am I? Right, so if we're talking about El Pnei Hashem, the western side of the Mizbeach, but that's excluding the Pnei HaMizbeach, which is the southern side. If you're on the western side, you're not on the southern side. You're not on the face of the Mizbeach. And when it says to the face of the Mizbeach, Badarum, that's the southern side, Kayemes, I guess, the Pnei Hashem, so Kiyamta, Lifnei Hashem, so it says Badarim. The gears here are a little weird. It says Badarim, you can change it to, it's a little bit easier if you say B'Marav. So it's saying that, however, when it comes to the southern side, and it's Pnei HaMizbeach, it's not just Pnei HaMizbeach, it's also Pnei, it's also Lifnei Hashem. How so? Heichon Kemes, how is the southern side, which is clearly the face of the Mizbeach, that's where the ramp is, how is it also Lifnei Hashem? Amar Bashi Kasavar Aitano, Kule Mizbeach, B'Tzofon Koi. Well, because Rabbi Eliezer holds that the Mizbeach was in the north of the Azara. I don't have a diagram here. I think that we've seen, I think that this week we've seen enough diagrams about the Mizbeach being in the north of the Azara that I think it's probably, at least for now, still fresh in our minds. If you remember in the Azara, if you have that we had a blue line running through the Azara, dividing the Azara north and south. And that blue line doesn't just divide the Azara north and south, it also runs straight through the opening of the Ulam and the opening of the Heichel, i.e. half of the opening of the Heichel is in the north and half of the opening of the Ulam is in the north. And if you have the Mizbeach right there at the, touching the blue line that divides the Heichel, that divides the Azara and the opening to the Heichel and the Ulam, if you have the Mizbeach just north of that blue line, well then, even the southern side is also, the southernmost side is still going to be, right? You could draw a line from the southernmost side right through the Pesach HaUlam, Pesach HaHeichel, and therefore, by being on the southern side, you are not just at the face of the Mizbeach, where the Kevesh is, but also in front of the Heichel as well. So therefore, I'd imagine that according to Rabbi Eliezer, you could also, do the Chatas Ha-Oaf in the corner, because that would be where the southern and western sides meet. I think the point is that you can even do it on the southern side as well, whereas Rabbi Shua would say it must specifically be at the corner where the two sides meet. And finally, bird Chatas possibilities. Meaning, when it comes to Chatas Ha-Oaf, you have Malika, you have Hazas Adam, you have Mitzui Adam. There's different parts of offering a Chatas Ha-Oaf. Which parts can be above the Chut HaSikra, below the Chut HaSikra, what needs to be below the Chut HaSikra, etc. So says the Gemara, so on the one hand, the Mishnah had said, that the Chatas Ha-Oaf can be, let's say, Zrikas Adam, let's say, anywhere. Above the Chut HaSikra, below the Chut HaSikra. But then it says there are three things that have to be below the Chut HaSikra, and it lists Chatas Ha-Oaf. So what's the deal? Where is the Chatas Ha-Oaf? How do we handle the Chatas Ha-Oaf? So my comment, what's going on? Amar Vashi says, Vashi, is Pshat. Okay, first of all, you could do Malika anywhere. I think anywhere in the Azara, anywhere on the Mizbeach, above the Chut HaSikra, below the Chut HaSikra. So Ella, Zehaya Mekoma also, but this was its place for sprinkling the blood. That in terms of so while the malika could be anywhere, the haza'ah, sprinkling the blood of the chatas Ha-Oaf, after the malika, after it's been killed, the sort of, I think it's just like kind of flicking the bird and getting that blood to land to hit the mizbeach, that would be below the chut ha-sikra. Tanina ha the Taner Rabbanan, and this we have demonstrated that we have a Mishnah for that which we learn in a brisa. We have a brisa that talks about it, and now this is solidified as we just saw in our Mishnah. Malka b'chol makom b'mizbeach kshera. If one does malika anywhere on the mizbeach, above the chut ha-sikra, I guess maybe standing on the sovek, below the chut ha-sikra, it doesn't matter. For malika, for the killing of the bird, it could be anywhere on the mizbeach. Hiza dama b'chol makom kshera. So interestingly, we're saying even the Haza'as Adam could be above the Chut HaSikra, below the Chut HaSikra. We'll have to explain in more detail in a minute. But the Haza'as Adam can also be anywhere on the Mizbeach. He's a velo mitzah, and if one did Haza'as Adam, if one kind of sprinkled the blood of the Chatas Ha-Oaf on the Mizbeach, but didn't then press the incision against the Mizbeach to get out as much blood as possible, if one did not do that, Kshera, the korban is still, the Chatas Ha-Oaf is still kosher. When we say that the sprinkling of the blood, the azah of the Chatas Ha-Oaf, could be anywhere in the Mizbeach, that's so long as you at least had some of the dam hanefesh, the life blood, the soul blood, at least some of that was below the chut ha-sikra. Once your yotze is on, you have some of the haza'as adam of the Chatas Ha-Oaf below the chut ha-sikra. Well, then you could then sprinkle it above the chut ha-sikra. That's fine. Michael Amar, what exactly is going on here in this brayso? This is what it's saying. Malka b'chol makom b'mizbeach ksher. Okay, so if malika was anywhere in the mizbeach, above the chut ha-sikra, below the chut ha-sikra, it's kosher. Mitzah dama b'chol makom b'mizbeach ksher. And if the after doing the haza'as adam, the bird is then pressed against the mizbeach, anywhere on the mizbeach, above the chut ha-sikra, below the chut ha-sikra, ksher, doesn't matter. Shim, he's a velo mitzah ksher, because technically, even if you didn't do mitzui at all, even if you didn't press the incision, the wound against the mizbeach to squeeze out the whatever blood you can from the bird, even if you didn't do that, that's not ma'akev. It wouldn't be ma'akev. So therefore, doing it above the chut ha-sikra, below the chut ha-sikra, either way, it's fine. Again, so long as some of the soul blood, some of the life blood of the bird was sprinkled below the chut ha-sikra, once you've done that, the rest is kind of gamish. The rest you can kind of flow with, right? The malika could kind of be anywhere. The mitzvah could be anywhere. And even the azos, as long as you've done some of the dam nefesh below the chut ha-sikra, all is good. Friends, that was Daf Samach Gimel of Masechta Zevachim. I don't think it was a particularly long daf, which is very welcome right now. So on Daf Samach Gimel of Masechta Zevachim, we learned about where to perform kemitzah for a korban mincha, where the kohen takes a fistful of the korban mincha. We said that could be anywhere in the azara, and not just anywhere in the azara, but also in the heichal as well. The bird chatas corner, Rabbi Yeshua said that the Chatas Ha-Oaf is handled in the southwestern part of the mizbeach, where the southern and western walls of the mizbeach meet at the corner, right? The southwestern corner of the mizbeach where they meet. Whereas Rabbi Eliezer says, I believe the southwestern corner, or I think he also says you could, right? But he definitely says or the south side of the mizbeach, because the south side of the mizbeach is not just the face of the mizbeach where the kevish is, but it's also in front of the oil moed, since he holds that the mizbeach is in the north of the zara. And in terms of the bird chatas possibilities, kemitzah and mitzui could be anywhere on the mizbeach. Haza'ah could be anywhere on the mizbeach as long as some of the soul blood is sprinkled beneath the chut ha-sikra. Friends, that was Daf Samach Gimel of Masechta Zevachim. I hope you enjoyed. Cheers.